Howdy, small group. Our big idea today was this: when we compromise our faith, we crumble, but when we trust, we triumph. We are in this period of the divided kingdom where Israel has been completely broken down and Assyria has taken over. And we also have this period of time where Hezekiah is the new king of Judah, and we start to see some good things happening. Your icebreaker question today is: share about a time when you faced pressure to compromise your values and beliefs. What was at stake and what did you do? There were multiple times I remember growing up where there was a pressure to watch this or smoke this or say this. And by God's grace, I was able to be strong. And man, like that really spoke. And I think that when we are able to stand firm in our faith, when the world is saying, hey, everybody else is doing this, and you say, I'm not going to do this, but not just I'm not going to do this, but here's why I'm not going to do this. I think it's extremely helpful, because I remember even growing up, watch this, smoke this, say this. I would tell people not just, oh, I don't do that. I would say, here's why. And it did have an impact. As a matter of fact, like there's a lot of folks from my upbringing that we know from back in the day that come to church here because they did see that in me and they saw that in Rebecca. So you can have a real impact by not just going along with the culture, not just going along with the pressure. We learned that a compromising faith is a crumbling faith. And Israel, man, they wanted to sort of worship God, but they also wanted to worship all the other things and compromise. And it just never works. It always leads to a crumble. And the other thing that we learned was Hezekiah brought some really amazing reforms to Judah in the southern kingdom. For the first time we've read in a very long time, Hezekiah actually got rid of the high places and he destroyed the Asherah. So what he does is he gets rid of all of these other forms of worship and he cuts down the Asherah poles, which represented sexuality outside of God's design. And so Hezekiah is coming in, he's getting rid of all these things. And what he's doing here is so much bigger than just him. He's actually setting the trajectory of the nation. And then it says he broke in pieces the bronze serpent. And we talked about that during the message. The bronze serpent was something that God called Moses to craft back in like 1400 BC when the Israelites were in the wilderness. When they were getting bit by snakes, they were tasked to look upon that bronze serpent in the wilderness. And Jesus even uses it. He says, just as the serpent was lifted in the wilderness, so the Son of Man will also be lifted up. What Hezekiah does, though, is he crushes that bronze serpent into pieces. And why? Well, because that bronze serpent had become an idol. It had become a tradition. And in churches and everywhere we go, good things can happen from a lot of things, but we can actually make good things into idols. We can make our past into idols. We can make our sacred cows and our traditions into idols. And we are called not to do that. Are there things in your life that are good that you're tempted to turn into an idol? That could be your career, that could be your finances, that could be your wife or husband, that could be your children, it could be a hobby. Those are all great things. But if we're not careful, even good things can become idols. So you're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. We also learned that when Hezekiah's back was against the wall, he sought to buy out the king of Assyria, and he took money from God's temple, which added up to like $151 million or something like that. Once again, we talked about it last week, but when we rob God, it might be a quick fix, but it kills us in the long term. So another thing you might want to discuss was, is there ever a time where you robbed God because your back was against the wall? I mean, with your time, talents, and treasure. And maybe it was a quick fix, but it hurt you in the long term. And then we get into the story where the Rabshakeh is interacting with Hezekiah's officials and with the people of Judah. And he begins to essentially try to manipulate them, entice them, lie to them. I go into a little bit of detail during the sermon, but even more detail in the overtime. And I think that this is really a similar way that the enemy tries to get us to fall for his schemes. So take a little bit of time and discuss that. But I love how the people remain silent after the Rabshakeh gives his grand presentation. It's like they are trusting in God, and they're trusting in Hezekiah, their king, but Hezekiah is trusting in God as well. And they are going to let God fight for them. And we're going to see how that's going to work out for them in the long run. But honestly, that's the best way to go. For some of you today, you may have a battle going on, a trial, a tribulation, a struggle, and God is saying, hand it over to me. And that might be worthy of your discussion. Practical applications we're inviting you to do this week. Identify your idols. Identify areas where you might be robbing God, and let's make some changes. Listen to God's quiet voice. Just as the people of Judah were quiet, you and I, we can be quiet and we can listen, and then stand firm against compromise. I hope that you enjoy your group this week. I hope that it is deeply meaningful for you as you jump into 2 Kings 17 and 18. And God bless you guys. I will see you guys later.